Philadelphia, get ready to be inspired. If you need help finding the light in the darkness, don't touch that dial. Let's navigate life through the lens of hope with Scotty P. Inspirational speaker Scotty P speaks the importance of mental health in society and encourages techniques to overcome the everyday mental health obstacles that hold us back in life. It's not just inspiration, it's Scotty P inspiration.
All right, hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Scotty P Inspiration Show with your host here, none other than Scotty P, also known as Scott Prendergast. I super am excited for this episode today, and I'm glad that you all are joining me once again. And if you're listening to me, that's great. A couple ways that you could do it. You could go on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any major podcast platform, type in the Scotty P Inspiration Show, and you can listen to all the episodes that way. Or if you want to watch it, you could go on YouTube, search Scotty P Inspiration, and under the playlist, The Scotty P Inspiration Show, you can watch it that way. Now, you'll notice again, I am wearing my Phillies hat. Phillies keep winning, keep balling. I got to rep them, got to show love. So the past 3 episodes, I've been wearing the hat. We're going to keep doing it. All right, so super excited to be here today, everybody. As you know, I like to jump right into things and get the topic underway, which is what we're going to do today now that we got the administrative stuff out of the way. Now, today, the topic that I wrote about is this: when our feelings distort our reality. When our feelings distort our reality. And these are some of the things that I said about it. As we go throughout our day, we have different feelings, different emotions in response to different events, interactions, and just going about everyday life. And this is a good thing. If we didn't have emotions and feelings, I would be very concerned. I would say, bruh, this dude's probably a robot, right? It's human. That's normal. That's a good thing. It means we're in touch with our humanity. It means we're also in touch with the humanity of other people because we're feeling things. That is good. We don't want to go numb. And we can talk about that another time, right? But we want to be able to feel things. It's not a problem. This is good. It means we're alive, okay? We've got to feel, and we've got to allow ourselves to feel too. Me being in the, I guess you want to call it the motivational speaking base or world, so to speak, I hear a lot of toxic positivity, right? I hear a lot of people talking about, oh, well, just do this, just blah, 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 bury your head in the sand and think positively, when, let's just be honest, everything doesn't work like that. Right. And all the work that you look into with psychology and the study of the brain and everything, it never says, oh, we have to just ignore what we're feeling and ignore our problems. Actually, any school of thought that's going to be accredited is going to say that you have to feel what you're feeling first and then move through it. And I'm a big proponent of that. You got to allow yourself to feel what it is that you're feeling before you can learn to move through whatever that feeling is. Because if you don't allow yourself to feel it, how are you going to know what that feeling is? And if you don't know what that feeling is, how are you going to be able to move through and past that feeling? Exactly, right? So suppression always leads to regression. I cannot tell you how many times I've said this on the show, but it is one of the most true things in the world. We don't want to suppress, no matter how tempting it might be, no matter how much society tells us that's what we should do. Now, you want to allow yourself to feel what you're feeling, but we don't end there. Right. And that's another mistake that I think a lot of us get wrong. And I've done this before, too, is we allow ourselves to feel what we're feeling. And then we stay in that feeling. We stay stuck and we don't try to move forward. Right. That is our building block, feeling what we're feeling. Right. But we don't end there. We begin there. And that's important for us to understand. We use that as a stepping stone to then say, OK, I felt what I felt. Now it's time to take action, to do what I got to do to change this. That's super important as well. That we all need to understand. And these are just some of the things that I wrote down that I'm sharing with you, because I like this show to be authentic and just free flowing, because that's what we do. Anyways, back to some of the other stuff that I wrote. Allow us to feel. Suppression will always lead to regression. Okay. Now here's where things get a little bit different. And I broke this message into the reality. What do we do? How do we do it? And we're in the reality section right now. The reality is we know this stuff. We know that we have to allow ourselves to feel. We know that, it's okay, this or that. But what happens when the feelings of a certain experience or situation begin to distort our perception of reality? Right? When the disappointment we feel begins to seep into every aspect of our lives, or when the sadness that we feel makes us believe that our life is pointless, what then? This is the reality. This is the reality of the situation where inevitably we're going to come across a time in our life where life hits so hard that we don't even know what direction is forward or backwards. When you come across something that is so just soul sucking that you feel like you're never going to be able to see any type of happiness or joy or light ever again in your life, it's in moments like this, those real in the dirt, in the mud moments that we all come across, where we have to have an answer. Because we could sit up here and talk about positivity all we want and what to do all we want, but what do we do when we're in those moments where it gets so real that we just feel completely winded and completely numb to everything? Now, what do we do then? And that's what I really want to talk about today. And to take on for the next part here, I wrote down the what do we do section. Now, before we jump into the what do we do section, just to tie in a little bit of the end to the reality section, I think it's important for all of us to understand that no matter who you are, what you're doing, what your walk of life is, we're all going to come across times, plural, because it's going to happen more than once, where you get hit so hard by life that the idea of trying to move forward seems even more unattractive than the idea of giving up. That's just real. That's facts. That's honest. That's just honesty, right? We are all going to come across multiple times where we're forced to make that decision, either give up or stay stagnant, or somehow, some way, find a way to move forward. And I think it's important to understand that moving forward looks a little bit different for everybody. I'm not going to be ignorant enough to say there's one way to move forward here, because everybody's situation is different. How to move forward for someone that just lost their job that they had for 30 years is different than somebody that might say how to move forward after they just ended a relationship with someone that they've been with for 10 years. You know what I mean? It's different. It's not the same thing. But at the same time, what I'm going to talk about here and what we can do, I want you to be able to take it and mold it to your specific situation. The concepts are broad and they are just dying to be molded into what you need them to be. And I want to make sure that everybody understands that as we get into this message here. Now, let's dive a little bit deeper, shall we? We got the reality section out of the way. Now let's talk about the what do we do section. And again, different for everyone. This is what I wrote though. One of the most important things is we have to learn to separate what we feel from who we are. So many times when we're going through something in our lives, we identify ourselves as that thing. We identify ourselves as that struggle, as that trauma, as that pain, as that dysfunctionality. We identify ourselves as that. And I understand where that comes from. I understand that school of thought, especially in today's day and age where everyone's like being real open about what they're going through. And in a sense, that's good, but we don't want to identify as just one part of us, because that's exactly what this struggle that you're going through is. It is one part of you. It might feel like your entire existence. It might feel like your whole life. It might feel like something that's never going to leave, but you have to separate what you feel from who you are. And knowing that the person that you are, the person that is living this life right now, is more than that struggle, that pain, that sadness, that trauma, whatever it might be. And how you go about doing that is different, and we're going to get into that, but you've got to first fight the urge to allow this to be everything that you are and learn to separate it. And even if that's just saying a couple times throughout the day, all right, you know what? Yes, this is taking up my life right now, but it is not all of who I am. This is not all of who Scott is. This is not all of who Bob is. This is not all of who Janice is, right? There's more to me than this. And when we remind ourselves of that, it plants a little bit of a seed. It might not change things right away. It may not make instantly glory everything. Oh, well, now it's all great. No. But what it does is it kind of puts the brakes on that type of thinking that says, oh, there's nothing more to me than this. My life will always be this way. I'll never get past this. It puts the brakes on that type of thinking by injecting that little seed of, wait a minute, this is not who I am. There's more to me than this. And that's the first step that is super essential for all of us to take anytime we're trying to move through whatever these struggles, difficulties might be. One of the other things that I wrote here, moving on from that, is what we're going through or feeling doesn't need to become the focal point of everything in our life. And this is my favorite part here. I say this a lot, and like if I get it tatted on my face, I totally would. It's part of us, but it's not all of who we are. it's part of us, but it's not all of who we are. It's part of us, but it's not all of who we are. Boom. We need to get that down into the deepest parts of us, saying that this is part of me, yes, but you know what else is part of me? The impact that I make in people's lives at work. You know what else is part of me? The relationship that I have with my spouse. You know what else is part of me? The friendships that I have and how I make those people feel good. You know what else is part of me? My hobbies and things like that, right? You start making a list of all the other things that are part of you, and all of a sudden you see that this huge struggle in your life is merely not as big as you thought, because now you've broken it down and started listing all the other parts of you that make up you, in your life. And you see, whoa, that struggle, it's one. But look at these 50 other parts of me that I have, 60 other parts of me that I have, 500 other parts of me that I have. And which one is more? Right? And sometimes we've got to really make it plain and put that in front of ourselves to give ourselves some of that perspective, to get out of that distorted thinking of this is the end all be all, everything right now is consumed by this. Step out of that type of cycle and look at the reality of the situation, which is, yes, I'm not ignoring this. It's here, but there's so much more in my life than just this. Easier said than done. Yeah. But we're giving you a guide today on how to start to do that. And if that has to be you writing a list, if that has to be you making a video of saying it, if that has to be you sitting down with someone you're close with and speaking it out, you do whatever you have to do, but you start listing and planting those seeds of the other parts of who you are, and knowing that what you're going through, I'll say it again, is part of you, but it is not all of you. Boom. Okay. Now let's move forward a little bit more. When we allow ourselves to feel and acknowledge our situation without completely identifying as it, we can then see the situation for what it is. We can see that situation as an opportunity for creativity to shine, an opportunity for resiliency to be utilized, an opportunity for growth to occur, an opportunity for new levels to be reached, all because of that very feeling or situation that we have deemed to be so bad and all-consuming. Look what we just did there. We didn't ignore the situation. We didn't ignore the feeling. We didn't bury our heads in the sand and say, let's just all be positive all the time. Yay. No, we're not squares out here. We're not idiots. No. Okay. What we did is we looked at it, we stood at it, we stared at it in its face and said, no, I'm not going to take you as this. I'm not going to let you ruin my life. I'm not going to let this situation, this feeling, this person, this circumstance, this environment take me and dictate every action I take and movement I make. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to see you and I'm going to turn this. I'm going to use you as an opportunity to grow myself. I'm going to use this thing as an opportunity to move to the next level in my life. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to flex that old resiliency muscle inside of me and keep moving forward. Even if things don't change right away, I'm going to keep going. You see what we just did there? We acknowledged it, yeah, but we didn't take it at face value. And we didn't give that situation, that feeling, those thoughts that we're going through, we didn't give that the power. We put the power back in ourselves and said, I'm going to dictate what's going to happen here. Not you, not this situation. You're not dictating me. I'm dictating this situation. And that's what we've got to remind ourselves sometimes. We got to get up and we got to fight back like Balboa in the ring, bro. Come on, let's go, right? You got to get back up there. You got to look that problem in your face right now. You name it, you call it out. And they say, okay, I'm going to take control over you. You're not taking control over me. No, sir. No sale. Nuh-uh. Ooh, mm-mm. And then you do what I just said. We look for that opportunity, put it under your feet, build resilience. That opportunity, put it under your feet, get to a new level in your life. That opportunity, create something new in you that wasn't previously there. But look what we did. We took that and I called it an opportunity. I didn't say I took that struggle. I didn't say I took that negative self-talk. I didn't say I took that relationship issue, whatever it is. I called it an opportunity. And that's what I want you to do too. You start naming that thing in your life, whatever it is, and you rename it an opportunity. And then you plug in what you want or need that opportunity to be for you, and you start chugging away. And guess what? It's not going to change overnight or 2 days or maybe even 3 days or maybe even 3 months, but it will change the wiring, so to speak, of how you're viewing it on the inside. Let's go. I'm vibing today. Here we go. So, taking a breath now to look back at what some of the other things that I wrote here, that kind of that taps out the what do we do? Hold on, what did I have here? Let me see. The first section, excuse me, everyone, was the reality section. The second section here was what do we do? Okay, we just ended the what do you do section. Okay, we got it? Cool. Now for the third and final section, how do we do it? Oh, this is where it gets interesting because we could talk all day about what we should do, but how do we implement strategies to do it? And again, this is open for interpretation. I am giving suggestions that I've found have worked for me and the people that I work with. It's not hard, fast. It doesn't have to be exactly this way, but I think it's a good guiding point for you to spring off of. What do we do about it? First thing that I wrote, and I just said this previously, name it to tame it. Find out what exactly it is that you're feeling and what your situation is, and ask yourself why you're feeling that way. Let's get introspective here. Let's dive deeper. Let's figure this thing out. I always put it this way, and I've said this before. Remember when you were a little kid and you got really, I wrote this in my book as well, and you got really scared at night because there was like a noise downstairs, or you heard some scratching on the window, and you were afraid to go downstairs or afraid to go to the window because you thought it might be a burglar or a weird animal or something, right? And you were standing there paralyzed in fear. You could not move. But then at some point, maybe you get up the nerve to look out the window or go downstairs. And as you do this, you notice what it really was making the noise. Maybe it was a tree branch scratching the window, or maybe it was the neighbor's dog barking, or, a little critter scurrying around, whatever. But you found out what it was. And then instantly you were less afraid. And instantly you took that power back and you were able to take action. And you were able to go back, go to sleep, whatever, right? In the same way, when we're going through a difficult time in our lives, it's really important that we identify what it is that's going on and how it's making us feel and why it's making us feel that way. Let's go through that again. What is going on? Number one. Number two, what is it making me feel? Okay. And then number three, why is it making me feel that way? And I can't answer those questions for you. That's for you to figure out. But when you get those answers, now we've named it and we've kind of started to tame it. And it takes the sting, it takes the power away from whatever that situation or thing is in your life that's causing you so much strife and worry and discomfort. Number one, name it to tame it. So let's move a little bit deeper here. Still in the what do we do about it? How do we do it section, excuse me. Take time to sit in that feeling. Give yourself a small allotted time to stay in that feeling without being consumed by it. Now, I hinted to this a little bit at the beginning, and I don't want anyone to think, oh, he's contradicting himself. No, I'm not contradicting myself, okay? Here's what I mean by this. I used to work with this therapist. His name was John, super great guy, and he once taught me that he would give himself 30 minutes every day where he would allow himself to just be in that anxious. He would say, no, I wouldn't worry about this or that. I would say, no, I got 30 minutes today to do it. And he would usually do it at like 7 o'clock. I forget what he did, but he would find 30 minutes. And for those 30 minutes, he would allow himself to be anxious and be in that anxious loop and think about all the what ifs, yada, yada, yada. But he was very strict with the time, and it was 30 minutes. And the second that alarm went off, he was done. He stopped and he's like, okay, time to get out of it. But by doing that, it allowed him to see a couple of things. Number one, it allowed him to kind of not totally suppress everything. But number two, he often found that after a few days of giving himself those 30 minutes to be anxious, he started to really see that what he was being anxious about wasn't really something that mattered too much. And he was able to see, you know what? The more I give myself these 30 minutes, the less I need it. But he continued to allot that time to give himself that time to be anxious. Now, for you, maybe it's not anxiety that you're dealing with, it's something else. Giving yourself that 30-minute time and being very strict with it and not getting consumed by this. Again, yeah, you need to be mature here. You need to know how to handle things, right? You got to be disciplined, okay? Giving yourself that time to sit in that feeling, to sit in that situation, contemplate it, think about it, uninterrupted for like 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you feel is right. But then once that time is done, okay, we're out of it. And it's what are we doing to move past it? What are we doing that I have to do in my life? So on and so forth. But I found that helped me, giving myself a little bit of worry time, so to speak. And just like what happened with the therapist, John, I found the same thing. The more that I did that, the less that I needed it. And it actually really helped me to get to a point where those worry times went from being about 35 minutes a day to being about maybe 4 minutes a day. And I found a lot of power and empowerment in that. Okay. That's what I mean when I say take time to sit in that feeling without being consumed by it. Something for you to consider, not for everybody. Okay. I will say that again, not for everybody, but for those who are disciplined, for those who feel that that might be something that could help you, it's a great tool to practice. And I found that it's helped a lot of people I've worked with as well. Moving on here. This one's important. Make a plan of action. Make a plan of action on how to move through the situation or feeling. Be specific. You need to be. Maybe you can make this plan of action as soon as you're done sitting in that feeling for 20, 30 minutes. And this plan of action looks different for everyone. Again, I can't really give you a plan without knowing your situation. That's something that you've got to work on yourself, okay? But be specific with this plan. Whether that plan be, okay, I'm going to today write down how I'm feeling and, get to the core issue of what's been going on for the past 2 years with this feeling. And I'm going to do that every day until I get to when this all started. Great. Maybe the plan of action for you is, okay, I'm only just going to take 20 minutes to sit in that feeling. And every day I'm going to do 1 less minute until I get down to 3 minutes. Maybe your plan of action is every time I start to focus and obsess and feel myself falling down that dark path of dealing with this situation, I'm going to turn to one of my positive coping skills. Maybe that's your plan. I don't know what it is for you, but it's really important to make a plan on how to start to work through whatever you're going through and be specific with those goals and really work on trying to adhere to those goals in a strict way. And when you do this, maybe you see results sooner, maybe you see them later, but regardless, you're giving yourself something to take your mind off of being in that anxious loop, sitting in that wallowing, sitting in that sorrow, whatever it is that you might be going through. Again, I can't make that plan for you, but giving you the idea to make a plan and be specific and to start to follow it is going to really be helpful. Again, we're in the how do we do it section. Moving on here, let's see. Based off of that, take at least one step of action of your plan every single day. Boom. Simple. Every day. Maybe you're like, hey, you know what? Today I'm really struggling. I don't think I have the ability to do everything that I plan to do today. That's totally fine. But you can do one thing. You can do one small thing so that you're still making progress and taking some type of step every day. Not every step has to be the same length. Not every step has to be a 10-foot leap. Sometimes it can be 2 inches forward. That's totally fine too, as long as you're being consistent and making an effort to take action every day. In the long run, you're gonna see results. It's just a matter of time. And that's probably one of the most important things that I could say when dealing with anything at all that you're going through. And the last thing that I wrote before we wrap this up here on the how do we do it section is keep track of your progress and continually reflect and refer back to it on your journey. This is something that I just recently rediscovered. I used to do this all the time. And then for whatever reason, I don't know, me being the dope that I am, I got away from it. I stopped doing it. I used to write down all these different little progresses that I made, and it helped me so much. And I just recently got back into doing it. And how I got back into doing it is I was reading one of my own journals, and I was in total awe, just saying, oh my goodness, wow, like I got through this. I got through that. That's how I managed that. That's how I managed that. And it really inspired me. And I was like, Scott, why'd you stop doing this? So the past few weeks, I've been doing it again. And I found that it's really helped me to reflect on the times that I've gotten through different struggles and also reflect on the progress that I've made. I'm not saying you have to take an hour every day to reflect. Maybe it's on your way to work. You just have a post-it note and you see one little thing. I don't know. Maybe it's a video you make, whatever works for you, but finding a way to reflect on some of that progress that you've made and those struggles and challenges that you've got past, those mountains that you've conquered, so to speak, and really allowing yourself to take something from that and allowing that to bring encouragement into your current situation. I think that is so powerful. And I can tell you, I'm doing that right now again, and it's really, really helped me tremendously. All right, everybody. So that brings us to about the end today. That is, we had the identify the problem, what it is. What do we do about it? How do we do it? Breakdown. I like that. I think I'm going to take that into more episodes as we do this too. But I want to thank you all for joining me today. And as we end this, I want to really finish with this last little piece of knowledge here, the last little piece of note. When it comes to our reality, it's only as real as we allow ourselves to believe it to be. And what I mean by that is that what's going on in our mind, what's going on in our head on a daily basis really depends on what thoughts and feelings we're focusing on. And for you, if your thoughts and feelings that you're focusing on are squared fully all the time on your struggle, your pain, your sorrow, your past, your reality is going to seem very distorted. And the way that we get out of that and see reality for what it is, as opposed to a distortion of it, is by learning to acknowledge and question and fight back against our situation, against those struggles, against whatever those problems might be that you're enduring in your life. Take heart, my friends. You can fight back. The situation you're going through right now, again, I don't know what it is for you, but just know it is part of you, yes, but it is not all of you. And you dictate it. It doesn't dictate you. Remember that. Thank you all so much again. I really appreciate it. This is Scotty P signing off. Until next time, I'll see y'all later.